And that's a really great point, because especially when students are starting out, one of the big mistakes they do often is over-compress. And once something's over-compressed, you can't really undo it effectively. So you can very easily record a vocal, for instance, dry with no compression, and you can utilize a totally separate signal path and track on the recording to compress it. And then that way, if you ever do go over, or you feel like you're over compressed later on, you have a totally discrete dry vocal path that you can go back and compress using a plug-in or something.
Do you have any general advice, just for going about for a beginning student, on using compression?
I would recommend starting your attack set all the way slow and your release set all the way fast, and then adjusting those until you get the audible compression characteristics that you want. And I wouldn't recommend over compressing, so keep the compression somewhere pretty moderate, like between 3 and 6 dB of gain reduction, unless you're very purposefully going for a more compressed sound. But in my opinion, when you're dialing in your attack and release settings, that can be some of the most difficult stuff to set, because it's the hardest to hear. And when you're starting with the attack all the way as slow as it goes and the release as fast as it goes, and then you start to narrow it inward by increasing the attack speed and decreasing the release speed, you start to hear it more. You can sort of hear the compressor grab onto the signal as you increase the attack, and you can sort of start to hone in your skills in audibly hearing how that clamping down of the signal changes based on the attack speed, like whether or not you're compressing but it's maintaining the transient and the punch of the signal, versus setting your attack speed really quickly where it's actually clamping down on the punch or the transient of the waveform. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, what about threshold settings?
Threshold settings, like I said, I would just start off by setting your threshold, or like on the 1176 models, your input, so that it isn't over compressing and that you're staying somewhere moderate, where even if you don't have the greatest attack release setting, it's kind of negligible, like around, like I said, between 3 and 6 dB gain reduction. That's a good place to start. I think for me, when I'm doing something like vocals, the idea is that when they're singing quietly, you don't want them to be compressed at all.